It's 6:31, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. In terms of chairman's additions or deletions, I just have one, and that is 1.3, which is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, mainly because we're still working on them. I thought what we could do is we could move forward and discuss 2.4, which is the A&R. So that Stan Dillis, he had requested if we could get him out a little bit early because he was tired today. But before we do that, I should probably take a roll call of who's here. So, Julie?
Sorry, Julie Byers present.
Carol?
Carol Hoffs is present.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin present.
And do we still have Ian?
Yes, present. Ian Ortiz present.
Okay. Gosh, you're not showing up on my list for some reason. Yeah, there you are. So since there's only 4 of us here present, let me appoint Ian as a voting planning board member. And in the event that I guess Michael joins us late, then Michael will make the 5th.
Michael is out.
Yeah.
Michael is out of the country.
Yeah, he notified
me. He's definitely not going to be joining us.
Yeah, he notified me he wouldn't make it.
Okay, well, good. So then we don't have to appoint Ian and then terminate him later on. All right. So Stan, with regards to 2.4 A&R.
Yes. This is
Did you get Beth's communication about we're missing one of the owners on the application?
I took care of that.
No, not on the application. Plan.
Oh, all right.
Pardon?
It's on the site plan. One of the owners is missing, and they have to be listed on the site plan for the A&R.
All right. Are they listed on the application?
Correct. Yes, and they all signed, but they're not on the site plan.
Okay, but all right, but the site plan or the Mylar that you're going to present to us, Stan, does have them on it?
It has 3 of them. It doesn't have the 4th one. That's an oversight on my part. I did the A&R plan before I realized there was a 4th owner, but they did sign the application.
Okay, and you're going to update the site plan?
I can update that. If you vote to endorse it tonight, I can come in tomorrow and add that 4th name to the Mylar, as with Beth as my witness, if that's acceptable.
Okay. Let me just check with the other planning board members. Do you all feel, Julie, do you feel that we should move forward with this A&R, even though that the application has all the owners, but there is an oversight in the site plan that stands correcting?
I think for that we can move forward for that type of issue.
You believe we can? I'm sorry?
I think we can.
Yep. Okay. Carol, do you feel comfortable moving forward?
Yes, I do.
Lori?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ian?
I do.
Okay. And for the record, I feel comfortable moving forward as well.
Thank you. So this is...
yeah, go ahead.
Go forward. Stan, so can you sort of go over the A&R with us?
Sure. This is it's about a 58-acre piece of land on North End Road. You're probably all familiar with it. It's the back way to Brookline. It's right at the New Hampshire line on your right as you're heading into New Hampshire. It's that big field with the old truck in the middle of the field. This is one of the owners, Michael Hoffman, is going to build a house there, and we're cutting 2.7 acres off of what is about a 58-acre piece that's owned by the family. So it's a conforming lot frontage acreage, and it's one lot off of the 50 whatever it is, 58 acres or so. There's an existing house on. Pardon me.
I said it's zoned residential 2 acre.
Yes. And there's an existing house on the remainder, which shows on the A&R plan as the remaining land. It shows the house. It's nowhere near the new lot, but.
Beth, would you be able to project the plan?
Yeah, I have it as long as I get screen share capability. Yeah. Harley, please.
I can too,
Harley,
if you'd like.
Oh, do you? Yeah. Either Stan or myself is fine.
Do you want to do it?
I'm
You want
happy
to do it,
to
Stan?
I have it right here. I can do it. Sure.
Okay, so let's have Stan do it.
Okay. Is it up? Wait a minute. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's at the top of the screen. It's lot 1. It's 2.7 acres. At the top of the screen shows the entire property, and there's a blow up of the lot underneath it that shows all the dimensions, et cetera, of lot 1. There's a locus map further down that keys you into exactly where it is. It's at the New Hampshire town line. The elementary school in New Hampshire is right over the town line. It's on the right-hand side as you head into New Hampshire. It's in the RB zone. It meets all the requirements for a lot in the RB zone.
Are there any wetlands on the lot?
There's a wetland way in the back, which shows on the remaining land. It's some standing water. It's about 0.3 acres, and I've broken that out on the acreage detail.
Okay, and what's the frontage?
The frontage of the new lot is 200.06 feet.
Okay.
And the frontage, the remaining frontage is about 425 feet.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions? Julie?
I do not.
Carol?
No, I don't have any questions.
Lori?
Nope, I'm good.
Ian?
I'm good.
Okay, and Beth, you basically have gone through this, and aside from just the one issue that we had discussed earlier, everything conforms to our rules and regulations and the zoning?
Yep. And the building commissioner has checked it, as well as the assessor. So they've both gone over it. I've gone over the full checklist. They're current on taxes. Everything looks good, except for the name.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the A&R contingent upon Stan updating the fourth owner on the site plan?
Laura Schifrin, I so move.
Do I have a second?
Carol Hofstas, I'll second it.
Okay, how do you vote, Lori? I'm Julie.
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes.
Ian?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
And Lance McNally, yes. Okay, thank you, Stan.
Thank you, and thank you for moving me up to the beginning of the meeting so I don't have to sit through the dog grooming hearing. Thank you very much.
Hulk is hurt by that comment, Stan.
No, I'm not commenting on dogs. I'm just thanking you for getting me home earlier. That's all. Thank you very much.
All right. You just probably wanted to go down there to Bad Larry's.
I have to go up to go to Bad Larry's, but I don't even know if they're open on Mondays, so I stay away from there. It's not good for my health. Thank you.
All right. All right, maybe let's see. 3.2, who is going to give the update on safe routes to school?
That's me, and I really don't have any updates. I know Rachel still hasn't met with the principals, but that's mostly because of scheduling. I haven't heard back from Emmy Hoff whether if she's completed or done or scheduled any of the activities.
Okay.
And the only other thing is I'll be participating in a webinar on Wednesday for the Safe Routes to School.
Oh, okay.
I think they have them every quarter.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, yes. Okay. So we're getting close to our public hearing. So let's see. Let me try to get one thing off the way. Matthew Allison, is that you? That's going to be attending the public hearing? Matthew?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And who's Jean's iPhone? Jean, can you come off mute, please? Jane. All right. Next to Ben. Ben, can you come off from mute for a second? Yes, Ben. Last name, please. I can't hear you, Ben. Ben? All right, I'm trying to help you, Beth, with the public sign-in sheet. If Ben could just let us know what his last name is. And iPhone, who is with iPhone? Can iPhone come off from mute? All right, so I'm sorry, Beth, but I really can't give a last name to Ben, nor can I give a last name to iPhone. And I think I scared Jean off. Okay, it's Ben Kinney. Ben Kinney. Hi, Ben. And who do we have on the iPhone?
Whittemore Bodwin.
Okay. We have everyone identified. Did you get that, Beth? Okay, great. And all right, so we should be able to start this public hearing on time. All right, so I'm moving to 2.1, which is the public hearing to review the proposed amendment to Article 6 of the Townsend zoning bylaw entitled Land Use Regulations section. At this time, I would like for the board members to introduce themselves. Julie?
Hello, I'm Julie Byers.
Carol?
I'm Carol Hofstas.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin. As soon as I'm done eating, I will put my video on. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I hope you're having something that is enjoyable. Ian?
This is Ian Ortiz.
Okay, and Lance McNally. So let me start off and read the legal notice. All right, so Townsend Planning Board notice. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 40A, Paragraph 5 and 11, the Townsend Planning Board will hold a virtual public hearing on April 11th, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. to review a proposed amendment to Article 6 of the Town zoning bylaw entitled Land Use Regulations, Section 145.26, entitled Residential Districts, subsection B, entitled Residential A and B Districts Special Permit Uses. Item 9 as follows, with additions to the existing text of the bylaw in bold. So it basically reads 9, commercial kennel, and we're adding dog grooming establishment, dog training establishment, dog daycare establishment 2. And so animal or veterinary hospital were already there, provided that such use is located on the same presence as a dwelling and is conducted by a resident thereof. And then basically interested parties may join the public hearing at the following link. Parties wish to speak in support or in opposition to this proposed bylaw may do so in writing prior to the hearing or at the hearing. Copies of the proposed amendment are available for review in the offices of the Town Clerk Planning Board during business hours or upon request by emailing Beth. Respectfully submitted, Lance J. McNally, Chairman. I don't know. Let me put Bill Cadigan on the spot. Because the Zoning Board of Appeals and Bill really were the ones that initiated this proposed change. So if you can sort of provide some background, Bill, on the rationale for the proposed change. And you're on mute, Bill.
There it goes. Yes, we had a recent application from somebody who does dog grooming, and this particular part of the bylaw was written in the 80s, and in those days dog grooming wasn't a thing like it is now. so our bylaw says if it's not specifically permitted, it's prohibited. So we're trying to add to the dog care bylaw or use, add to the dog care uses so that dog grooming is covered. And then people said, well, we should do dog training and dog daycare. But then at the last ZBA meeting, people were saying, well, maybe dog daycare is a bit much. So I don't know how. I think it's fine the way it is, but if it turned out that there were a lot of objections to dog daycare at town meeting, we could make a modification to remove that, which would, that wouldn't violate any of the procedures. But that's where we're at. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Are there any comments from any of the planning board members? Any comments from you, Julie?
No, I like all three of them.
Okay, Carol?
No, I don't have any comments.
Lori?
I don't see why, where the objection's coming from on the doggy daycare part. So I like all three of them. Not sure how different that would be from childcare. They must still have a license to do it. So that's what I think.
Okay. And Ian, any comments?
No comments from me.
Okay, and Lance McNally has no comments. So Beth, do we have any, could you please read our mandatory referral comments?
Sure. Just one moment. Sorry. Right. So the board received comments. I'm just going to go through what the board received from the highway department. The referral notice was no comment. From the land use coordinator, the comment is, I endorse this proposed amendment. From the highway, I got two from the highway. They both have no comment. I apologize.
Okay.
From the building commissioner, the comment is, these both look great, talking about both bylaws. Board of Health has no comment. And the Board of Selectmen's comment is, The Board of Selectmen supports this amendment and thanks the Planning Board for its efforts. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Do we have any comments from the public that's in attendance of this meeting with regards to this bylaw? Okay, have you received any written communications by any citizens, Beth?
No, not pertaining to this proposed amendment.
Okay. So with that, do I have a motion from a planning board member that we're planning to move this amendment towards the town meeting?
Laura Schifrin, I move the motion to go forward to the town meeting.
And do I have a second?
And I will second it.
And how do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
How do you vote, Lori?
Yes. Laura Schifrin, yes.
And thank you, Lori. And how do you vote, Ian?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
And let's see. Did we lose Julie?
She let me know that her internet keeps dropping.
Okay. And so Lance McNally votes yes. And since we lost Lori, we lost Lori. Excuse me, we lost Julie. We lost Julie. Sorry, Lori. Okay, with that, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Laura Schifrin, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I'll second it.
All right. And how do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
How do you vote, Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes.
And Ian, how do you vote?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
All right. And Lance McNally votes yes. Okay, we're good. And we're ahead of schedule here in terms of our 7:15 public hearing. All right. So why don't we jump to 3.1 and talk a little, well, I don't know, let me use 3.1 more towards the end so we don't start it and not be able to finish it. So Beth, can you pull up our notices from Townsend and other towns so we can sort of get that off our plate while we're waiting for our next appointment time?
Sure. Let's go to correspondence. What would you prefer? That I just read? Or
I didn't catch that.
would you like screen share or read?
I think that you can just read.
Okay.
Or summarize.
Okay, I'll summarize. There are two legal notices of public hearing for the Townsend Planning Board. They're both on Monday, May 9th. The first is for a site plan review special permit on an application from C&J Realty Trust, Mark Curtis, the trustee, to remodel the interior of an existing 3-story building by converting the second and third floor to residential units and retaining commercial units on the first floor and in the basement. This is at 241 Main Street. The second is on the same night, it's a public hearing for a scenic roads application at 221 North End Road. There is a memorandum from the Board of Selectmen to the Planning Board it's notifying the Planning Board that a new application has been submitted for a wines and malt beverage license for Honeyland Farms at 251 Main Street. The Board of Selectmen.
What was that?
I'm sorry.
One more time, Beth, I didn't catch that.
It is for a wine and malt beverage license for Honeyland Farms located at 251 Main Street. The Board of Selectmen is conducting a public hearing to consider the application on April 20th at 5:45 p.m. in the Selectmen's chambers. There's a second memorandum similarly from the Board of Selectmen on a new application submitted for an all alcohol liquor license for the Townsend DFW Post 6538, located at 491A Main Street in West Townsend. And the Board of Selectmen is conducting a public hearing to consider that application on the same night, April 20th at 5:35 p.m. in the Selectmen's chambers. There is a public hearing notice from the Townsend Historic District Commission on May 11th. We will be reviewing an application for a certificate of appropriateness. The location in Historic District 3 at 432 Main Street. They will be reviewing exterior work that was completed without the required permits or Historic District Commission approval. And that's it for the, I have the decision for the board from the accessory apartment special permit that was granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals for the premises of 169 Wallace Hill Road. That was granted to, the decision date was on, what was it? March 30th. So they are all set. It's on appeal right now. So that's also in there for your notices from Townsend. Notices from other towns. A notice of decision from Pepperell, from the ZBA. A special permit to allow an accessory apartment. And that is at 190 or 192 Brookline Street in Pepperell. The Pepperell Planning Board has posted a notice of public hearing for a application for a special permit to allow a two-family dwelling in the town residential zoning district. That is located on 11 Sartell Street in Pepperell. Pepperell has another notice of public hearing from the Select Board. Yeah, this is on an application of Lauren Davis to provide an accessory pet daycare facility in the rural residence district. The property is 4 Hunt Club Way, and the public hearing is Wednesday, April 27th at 7:15 p.m. The town of Groton has posted a public hearing notice. It's a citizen's petition zoning amendment, and it's regarding the definition of age-restricted housing. That will be held on April 28th at 7 p.m. And there is a Zoom link for that. And that's it for other towns and all of the correspondence.
Okay. Do any of the planning board members have any questions for Beth in terms of the correspondence? Or anyone, should I say?
Laura Schifrin?
Yes.
Could I ask about that first public hearing that the Board of Selectmen are going to have for, I didn't understand what the license was going to be for, and is it permanent? Was it wine and something? I didn't understand what you said.
Okay. I'll try to be a little more clear. So the first one I mentioned is an application for a wines and malt beverage license for Honeyland Farms. And it doesn't give any more detail than that.
Oh.
What that license is. So I imagine, okay, it does say here if you have any concerns regarding the application, and I guess the application must be with the town clerk or with the Board of Selectmen's office. And, oh, I'm sorry. To find out more, to view the application, please do not hesitate to contact me. So I would imagine you would contact Ross Perry to get that application, or I can get it for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you, Beth. All right, let's move on to 4.2. Stormwater permit inspection reports and other related correspondence.
Okay, what do we have in the folder? I'm gonna look at it for a couple days. So there are some monthly construction inspection reports. One from Campbell Farm, two from Campbell Farm, sorry, and we did get out to 22 West Meadow Road with Jim Smith to work on the certificate of completion inspection checklist. That is in your file for municipal use. So we went out to the site and checked off all of the the checklist items. Everything looks really good out there, and I'm working on a few minor administrative details before we issue. I bring the board the final vote to issue the certificate of compliance. So there's just a couple of minor things that the applicant is working on administratively before we do that. So I'll bring this back to the board for a final vote. And that's it for stormwater. Yeah, everybody's up to date.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. Any questions? All right, Beth, I have a question for you. When I was looking at, or since we're getting ready to start a public hearing, I just have a question. The legal notice basically states that additions to the existing bylaw are in bold.
Okay.
The document that you gave me that basically shows the existing bylaw and what was deleted and what was added does not conform to the public hearing, which is correct.
What's the discrepancy?
Basically, where it said that roosters may be kept by residents, you basically say that was added, but in what you gave me, the only thing that was added was female chicks and hens, but no roosters for non-commercial use, and then 50 feet from an abutting residential. So they're not consistent.
Okay. So whatever is on the planning board notice is what's in the warrant.
Yes, but the warrant doesn't go into the details of what the existing bylaw is and what the changes are.
Correct. So the document that I sent you today that you requested,
yes,
should match this, but I don't know why it doesn't. It didn't. So there must be something that I did in the editing that might have been missed. But what's on the legal notice is what's in the warrant right now.
Yeah, but what's in the legal notice does not, I don't think it clearly articulates what the existing bylaw is and what was added.
Okay.
And I just thought I would give you the next 9 minutes to reconcile that. Because I mean, we only made minor changes to an existing bylaw, and it appears that we made extensive changes based on the legal notice.
Well, the only thing in the existing bylaw was the raising or keeping of a small flock of fowl not to exceed 20, period.
That's the existing bylaw?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was only one sentence.
All right, I thought it was more than that. Okay. All right, so I'm just waiting to start the public hearing at 7:45. So why don't we start a little bit on 3.1 then while we're waiting and talk about master plan. So Lori, can you provide any update on what you have been working on in terms of the master plan?
Yeah. So I reviewed number one, at our last meeting, I said that I would ask the housing authority if they would allow us to use the housing production plan, even though it belongs to the town, but I gave the courtesy and asked them in the master plan. And they said absolutely yes. It just so happened that we met the Thursday after our last Monday's meeting. So that's a yes. And I reviewed actually the 2015 plan, which was like 41 pages. And then the currently approved by the state 2022 housing production plan that we used our consultant for, which was like 84 pages. And also reviewed the housing chapter and the zoning chapter as presented by the master plan committee. My suggestion would be is that we strongly reference the 2022 housing production plan that approved by the state and insert to our master plan the actual pages 15 through 18, which are the goals and strategies for 5 years. So that seems to make sense to me anyway. I don't know if it will make sense to anybody else, but it made sense to me to do that since the master plan is generally for 5 years and the housing plan is generally for 5 years. And this is what we have for goals. The zoning, I don't know if Bill's still on, zoning should be initiating, like they did this thing on the dog kennel thing, some more changes to our zoning bylaws to make housing not easier in a way that it should cause any harm to the town, but in a way that we should be able to build units in areas where, again, I know I keep repeating myself, in areas where the septic allows more density, like, town water, sandy soil, those things allow for more density. So I hope that we become more friendly that way. Both documents included the most recent legislation initiated by the governor in January. So hopefully we're not just looking at it in May at the meeting that, yes, we need to approve this because the governor wanted us to do so, for the fact that there are certain grants that we won't get or certain funding that we won't get if we don't go along with the governor's legislation. But in fact, that we use this as a guide to help create some housing units in Townsend. One of the things I think I mentioned in a quick email to you was on page 97 of the master plan, which is the housing chapter, it refers to the decline in 2010, and their reasons that they give are not necessarily reasons that I agree with. Considering that we did have, and I can't remember the year, but we had a self-inflicted moratorium self-inflicted, meaning the town asked us to do that. So there was no building permits issued. And when they started issuing permits again, it was only 10 or 12 were allowed. So that's my findings from my review of the housing and zoning and my recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So would you be able to make the updates, Lori?
Not me. I couldn't technically make the updates, but I can work with Beth to get that done. I'm sure she could. It's really simple. I'm not making it difficult. What I'd like to do is I'd like to verify the reasoning for the lack of construction during the years cited in the master plan.
Okay.
And insert the goals and strategies from the HPP into, well, I'll work with her on where to put it in the housing chapter. And then have a sentence that refers to supporting the 2022 HPP within the master plan.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me pick on Julie. Were you able to do anything with regards to the master plan?
So I told Beth I was going to take a look at from basically page 1 through page 64. So that takes us for the beginning all the way through natural and cultural resources. So I'm editing the document or doing track changes as I go along, and I'll send that back to Beth.
And when do you anticipate completing?
Well, I have to do it really soon because this is technically my last planning board meeting, unless you're going to have a work session before the election to go over it.
When would you be prepared to go over it?
I mean, I probably just need one more day.
Okay.
I can work with Beth just one-on-one if you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the update.
Yep. Actually, but can I add one more thing, Lance?
Yes.
One of my biggest concerns in this beginning part is that they were referring to the 2010 census. And as we all know, there's a 2020 census. So my comments kind of going through this is we really should be using the data from the 2020 census. So that,
yes,
unfortunately might create more of a revision than I would like, but everything is influenced by which census they used.
And I think it's always best to use the latest census.
Yeah. But I can work with Beth on what that creates.
Okay.
Sorry, Beth.
Okay.
No, that's okay. I agree with you.
Kim, you have your hand up.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yes, we had an end point. If you remember back, we said that if we switch one part of the data, we have to switch all part of the data. And because of contracts that were ongoing, it would mean switching the whole thing. What I might advise, it might be cleaner and neater, is to put an addendum on the end with your updated information and let it be a working, living, breathing document rather than having to switch out everything in the document, because that would be a huge task. And, probably you'd have to pull in some other folks to get that done if you wanted the entire document redone to reflect that.
Okay, thank you.
And it certainly then wouldn't be signed by the master plan committee. So I've seen, other reports that add addendums like that, and that might be helpful and useful. And I don't disagree. Having up-to-date data is good, but in the context of our report, we did have the cutoff date for the data.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. It's 7:16, so I would like to open up the public hearing with regard to the foul. Now, let me refer to it as that, which is Article 6 of the zoning bylaw. Whoops. Yes. So with that, let's go and introduce the board members again. So we have Carol.
Carol Hofstas is present.
Julie Byers present.
Lori.
Laura Schifrin present.
Ian.
Ian Ortiz present.
Julie.
Julie Byers present.
And Lance McNally present. And with that, let me, let everyone know. Beth, do you want me to capture the names of everyone that is logged on right now?
Well, let's go through, if you don't mind going through for a moment, because I have a couple that are, like I have the letter A, if you don't mind going through.
Going through who's here?
Well, yeah, I do have, if folks want to, unmute and just say hello, there's somebody listed as A. It's up to you.
All right, so why don't I do this? Gosh, I've done this before.
I can certainly screenshot it too, so it's fine.
Okay. All right, for our virtual sign-in sheet, whoever is Jean's iPhone, can you say your full name?
Jean LeQueer. Can you hear me?
One more time.
Jean LeQueer.
Jean LeQueer. Did you get that, Beth?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and who is A?
Allison Donovan.
Got it.
Okay, did you get that, Beth?
Yes, thank you.
Erica? Erica? All right, Helen? All right, Lauren?
Yep. Hi, my name is Lauren Lewis. I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Linda and Chemo?
Hi, Chemo Lee.
And Linda Mack.
Present.
All right, Linda Mack and Chemo Lee. And I think that's everyone.
Thank you.
Whoops. Pat?
It's Patty O'Driscoll. Patricia O'Driscoll.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that would be both. Yeah, okay. That's everybody.
Okay.
Maria
All right, so
Sanchez is also on the line.
Maria Sanchez.
Who is that again?
Maria Sanchez.
Okay, thank you, Maria. And Kim, I assume that you aren't waiting to jump on and your hand is up.
Yeah, one more here, Pat Belcher.
Okay, one more time, Pat.
Belcher, B-A-L-C-H-E-R.
Okay, and Erica? What's your last name, Erica? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Erica Shagnon. Can you hear me?
Beth, I think that, yep, we can hear you. I think that's everyone, Beth.
Okay, thank you.
There's
Also,
38
the best
people
we
here, though.
Pardon?
Are you seeing all 38 people here?
I'm seeing them, but whoever doesn't have a last name is who we are looking at, right? Right, Chairman?
Exactly. I'm just calling off the folks that don't have last names there.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Roland Kuchu.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we have 39 participants, or at least 39 people logged in, of which there are sometimes two people to a computer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. With that, then, is it all right if I read the legal notice, Beth?
Sure.
All right. Okay. Townsend Planning Board notice. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, paragraph 5 and 11, the Townsend Planning Board will hold a virtual public hearing on April the 11th, 2022 at 7:15 to review a proposed amendment of Article 6 of Townsend zoning bylaw entitled Land Use Regulations, Section 145.26 entitled Residential Districts, subsection A entitled Residential A and B Districts Permitted Uses, item 10 as follows, with the addition to the existing text of the bylaw in bold. So the bylaw reads, A, the raising or keeping of a small flock of fowl, and then we added, open parentheses, female chicks and hens, but no roosters, end of parentheses. The not to exceed 20 was in the existing bylaw. Then we added for non-commercial use by residents. Roosters may be kept by residents that is not less than, roosters may be kept by residents on lots of 1 acre or more in size. All fowl, including roosters, must be kept in a coop or a pen enclosure that is not less than 10 feet from a lot line and 50 feet from an abutting residence dwelling. It is responsibility of the property owner to ensure their flock is sufficiently contained to the subject property. At no time shall the animals be permitted to enter abutting parcels or the public way. Failure to comply with these requirements may result in the order to remove the animals. Interested parties may join the public hearing at the following link, blah, blah. Parties wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this proposed bylaw may do so in writing prior to the hearing or at the hearing. Copies of the proposed amendment are available for review in the offices of the town clerk and planning board during business hours or upon request by emailing Beth. All right, respectfully submitted, Lance McNally. So let me just start off real quickly that the motivation behind this, and I think it was 1 or 2 years ago, or maybe even further, the building commissioner came to the planning board basically stating that our existing regulations with fowl are really vague and very, very difficult to enforce. In fact, what prompted this was that there was a resident in Townsend and their next door's neighbors fowl were basically always on his property, and he complained to the building inspector that he didn't think it was right that his neighbor's fowl could free range on his property. And so, I can, at least in my opinion, the planning board supports agriculture and knowing that we're a right to farm community, but our intent was to basically provide something that could be enforced if animals are disturbing other property owners. So that was sort of what our intent was. And if any board member wants to speak up in terms of thinking that was not our intent, and am I incorrect, please feel free to. All right, without that then, Beth, could I have you read our mandatory referral comments?
Sure. Okay, so these are the comments received from boards and committees and officials. Land use coordinator made no comment. The building commissioner, again, said it looks great, good work. The Board of Selectmen supports this amendment and thanks the planning board for its efforts. Board of Health made no comment, and that's it.
Okay. Do we have any written responses from the public that needs to be entered into the record, Beth?
Yes, there have been 2 emails received. Would you like me to just go ahead and read them?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dear Mr. McNally, my name is Elizabeth McCarthy and I live in Townsend. Can everyone hear me okay? It's my understanding that you are the person to contact if I would like to have the foul bylaw addressed. I have lived in Townsend since 1998, and my neighbors and I all got along very well until about 3 years ago. I live on a dead-end street with approximately 8 houses on it. 3 years ago, a new neighbor moved in and purchased a rooster and 14 different kinds of fowl. These animals are a safety hazard and a public nuisance. The neighbors allow their fowl to roam freely throughout the neighborhood. They have been cited by Mr. Chartrand, building commissioner, but it does not do any good because they continue to let them roam on everyone else's property. The police should not have to be called for noise complaints and loose fowl in the road. The town should be creating bylaws that address this. I can no longer go into my yard and enjoy my garden because all I listen to is either roosters crowing or ducks quacking. And provide hours of audio and video recording of the noise and the fowl in the road if needed. We all live on half-acre lots that are not farms. I understand Townsend is considered a farming community, but no one on the street owns an active farm. My understanding of a rooster is it is a male chicken and its only purpose is to fertilize the egg of a hen to produce more chickens. I understand people think they are pets, but their main purpose is for reproduction. Most of the residents in Townsend own half-acre lots. The way the bylaw stands right now, anyone may purchase a rooster and put it on their lot. There is no consideration given to the neighbors who live next door and have to listen to the rooster crow all day long. I am told it is very unusual for a rooster to crow all day, so I can only assume my neighbor's rooster is being abused. I have contacted the dog officer regarding my concerns and was told the residents put a shock collar on the animal to try to keep it quiet. This is cruel and it's not working. It has come to the point I can no longer open my windows during the spring or summer unless I want to listen to roosters and ducks squawking. My home is no longer my own, but owned by my neighbors who are allowed to dictate what I have to listen to in my yard. Mr. Chartrand has been very helpful and tried to assist as much as he is legally allowed. I have contacted the chief of police and have been told the bylaws do not allow them to do anything. I hope that you will consider not only the person who wants to own the rooster, but the neighbors who live next door when deciding on this bylaw. I appreciate your time and hope that you will consider all sides when making a determination on this bylaw. Sincerely, Elizabeth McCarthy. The second email came in today from Allison Donovan. Good morning, sir. I just wanted to send my opposition to tonight's foul amendment, zoning bylaw amendment. I feel this would be detrimental to many residents in this town. I particularly would be forced to kill my guinea hens. When we first moved here, we chose a place with 8+ acres, backed up to thousands of acres. No nearby neighbors, and we had a horrendous tick problem. Both my horses ended up with Lyme disease, along with my dogs. We weren't able to walk across our backyard without pulling 20 to 30 ticks off either the dogs or my children. I looked into guinea fowl. Unlike chickens, there's absolutely no controlling these things. Mine have to be free range, but have a mind of their own and end up in the street to get bugs on the neighbor's farm. And I take into consideration that I will end up with some casualties due to their complete stupidity. But it's only happened twice in 5 years, most recently being done on purpose. I also accept the fact that they will be picked off by predators. So mine chose to go back to their coops at night, but they can fly way up in the tree if they feel like it. It would be absolutely impossible for me to allow them to do their job. They would be locked up for no benefit for me or them. They would fight each other if locked up 24/7 for their entire life until they killed each other. This would be an absolute inhumane condition to put them through. They don't produce eggs like chickens do. Their sole purpose is to eat as many ticks and bugs and weed seeds as possible. They can run and fly faster than anyone or anything could catch them. Unfortunately, I understand there are problematic owners and close-knit communities But to blanket everyone is not the answer. If there are issues, they should be dealt with on a case-by-case situation. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to speak with me either by phone or email. Thank you for your time, Mr. McNally. Sincerely, Allison Donovan. And that's it.
Okay. Lauren, you have your hand up.
Hi. I want to address the first letter and tell you that I am her neighbor. And when I moved into this neighborhood, to start off from the beginning of the letter, I was warned about her from every neighbor that they all had chickens. The kid across the street had to move because of her. She complained about his chickens. The woman across the street got rid of her chickens because she got sick of being harassed by her. Her dogs bark all hours of the night. Her dog mauled another dog. She has one friend on the street. Like I said, I was warned. We moved here from the city, and I want to be left alone. I don't want to be bothered. First of all, the rooster wasn't being abused, and the rooster has been dead for a year. So that's another issue. So the dog officer came and saw that everything was great. I'm the one who had to call the police on her because her son tried to fight me in the middle of the street, scared for my life. I was actually the one to call the police. Her other son almost ran me over. So she's just retaliating is what I'm getting at.
So do you have any comments, Lauren, specifically on the proposed amendment to the bylaw?
Well, I think that it's ridiculous that I figured that her name would come up, and I think it's ridiculous that because she told the police she specifically just doesn't like birds, that's the only reason why she's doing this. But
yeah, I'm more interested in if you have any comments with the proposed amendment to the bylaw that the planning board is proposing.
Well, my comment would be like other people shouldn't have to suffer, and like someone else said, her guinea hens would have to be killed, locked up all day. I totally agree with what the second lady said. I just think it's ridiculous that like it writes a farm town and they're complaining, and it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to let you know my input on the letter, because it's all a lie, and I have neighbors that will prove that. She tried to run my chickens over too, and that's on video. Okay, all
right.
But anyway.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Maria, you have your hand up. And
yes,
you're also mute. Okay, go ahead, Maria.
Hello, my name is Maria Sanchez, and I live in Townsend in the Timberley Park area. I'm a backyard chicken owner and have a small flock with 4 hens and a bantam rooster named Ed. Not only do they provide me fresh eggs, they have given me a lot of joy and the opportunity to experience a little slice of homesteading, something that is becoming increasingly rare these days. I would like to voice my opinion on the section of the amendment regarding roosters. My house sits on a lot that is around 1/4 acre. If this amendment passes, I would be forced to decide between getting rid of my beloved family member or keeping him and dealing with whatever consequences might come. For me, the 1 acre rooster rule creates an unfair financial barrier. It says you can enjoy this unique aspect of American country life, but only if you're wealthy enough. My backyard chicken adventure began when I rescued Ed from a no rooster community. Finding a safe home for a rooster is notoriously difficult, and I refuse to kill or abandon my bird in a public space, which is common practice in communities with no rooster policies. Ed is not only very dear to me, but is also very important to my hens. He protects them from danger and keeps them from squabbling, and I believe he is an integral part of the health of my flock. I have put in a lot of effort to ensure my birds stay on my property, and I am mindful of waste disposal. If the concern is noise, I would suggest the board consider other alternatives, such as the use of rooster collars. I am a responsible chicken owner, and I would not doubt that most chicken owners in Townsend are equally as responsible. These proposed amendments seem to stem from a disagreement between neighbors that have failed to communicate respectfully. I would ask that such disputes be handled between the affected parties and the rest of us not be punished for the actions of a few. I moved to this community because the right to farm status, and I hope that we can preserve this unique and special characteristic of our community for years to come. Thank you.
Okay. Maria, I just have one question. Can you just tell me a little bit more about the rooster collar?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're not shock collars. It's really just a little Velcro collar that you can put on the rooster that applies a little bit of pressure. You can still stick 2 fingers in the collar. It's not choking them at all, but it prevents them from getting that really big breath so they can really belt it out. And it dampens the noise a bit and makes it not so loud when they grow.
Thank you, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
John King.
Hi, I'm a Townsend animal inspector, and I go around to all the farms at least once a year. And I know most of the people that have chickens, and the people that might have a couple of hens and one little rooster in Tivoli Park. I may not know you, but I go around and make sure that the welfare of the animals is taken care of. And I make sure that they have a good home to live in. And I have to speak out against this thing. It's like, if we're going to start limiting people with their roosters to 1 acre, then maybe we need to start limiting dogs too, because I've had more problems and more complaints about dogs than I have about roosters. It's an unnecessary bylaw that you guys are trying to put in, limiting roosters because you don't like roosters. Well, don't live in Townsend, because we are a right to farm community. We have people in this community that want to raise and show birds, and in order to have a bloodline going, you need to have both roosters and hens. And if you don't have a rooster, then you can't breed your birds. You can't improve on a breed or make your own meat birds or what have you. And so I really want to speak out against this. Just because you don't live on 50 acres, and it shouldn't be a limiting factor to having a backyard rooster. Having roosters isn't really that big of a deal. And I've had the battles with my own neighbors when I lived in the center of town, and yet they're willing to have their dogs barking like crazy at all hours of the day. And they don't seem to think that's a problem, but I would say dogs are just as big, if not more of a problem than roosters are. And your rooster goes to the bathroom, and you take that and you put it in your garden, as opposed to a dog. You wrap that up in plastic, you have to throw that away. So I would say a rooster is a better pet than a dog any day.
Okay. Thank you, John. Patty.
Hi, thank you, John, very much. I 100% agree with so much of what you just said. My husband, Bob, and I have lived in Townsend in Tivoli Park since 1998. We are on just shy of a half an acre, which most of the houses in Tivoli Park seem to be right around a half an acre. So this bylaw would affect just about everybody in Tivoli Park who does have backyard chickens. I do have a rooster. His name is Ralph. Of all the roosters, the hens we have just the one rooster, and he protects our girls. We have we back up to the field on South Row. So we have a lot of animals that come through. We've had a bear quite recently, quite often. We have a lot of hawks. We have eagles. And Ralph protects his flock. He knows when they're up there, and he makes noise and he flaps his wings and he gets them into their coop. So they are protected. We are very considerate of our neighbors. We had at one time free range, and we had one neighbor complain. So we did build a run for them, and they do stay in the yard. They do take care of a lot of ticks, which is awesome. My husband and I also use the eggs quite often. Matter of fact, we probably have quiche at least once a week. And we have omelets every couple of weeks at night, and then we also have them for breakfast. So it is a food supplement for us, and we don't have to pay for it, like ridiculous prices you do at the store. I just don't agree that we shouldn't be able to have roosters. You need roosters I mean, everybody knows you need a rooster if you want to have chicks. You can't, hens don't lay fertile eggs. So I think this is something that is bad for Townsend. Townsend is a very rural community, and I'd like to see it stay that way. We're not Acton. We're not Chelmsford. We're a small town, and we don't need these bylaws. We don't need the government coming in and telling us what we can and can't have on our properties.
Okay, thank you, Patty. I know you don't look like an Adam of Griffin Hill Hall Farms, but go ahead. You're muted.
It's 2022. We can't make assumptions as to whether I look like an Adam or not, unfortunately. But I am, in fact, Susie of Griffin Hall Farms. I'm Adam's wife. And I have chickens. And I was on the fence about whether I even wanted to come on this call because we've got 5 acres. So whatever happens doesn't affect us. And I realised that's completely the wrong attitude to have. If I just think about what affects me, then I'm not thinking about, what happens in the future? What does that? It's roosters now on 1 acre. What can that turn into? And I think that's a fear a lot of people have. Like, it's not just implementing a bylaw, it's what that represents. Like, oh, well, what's next? It's of concern to people like us who live our lives on the land and from the land. I'm dependent on my land, and being able to keep roosters is part of my livelihood. With regard to addressing, the roosters have no purpose but beyond which to fertilise an egg. Well, that's a huge purpose in its own right, but beyond that, roosters have a huge purpose in protecting the flock. I've watched my roosters battle hawks to protect their hens. I've watched them call out to the hens because that's their job. They're looking at the skies. They're watching for the aerial predators, and then they tell the girls, hey, girls, come on in. And, it's pretty cool. I do get that there is a need for maybe implementation of potential setback rules for coops and things like that, so you're not intentionally upsetting other people. So I can understand the need for certain rules, but an acre minimum, I think that is a big concern to me, because most people with at least an acre do have to have some form of wealth, and then you'll turn into keeping chickens into like an elitist activity when it should be something that's holistic and readily available to anybody and everybody within reason. So I have concern for the person who wrote in, and I do understand that you have to be considerate of other people, but to make a blanket statement that could affect hundreds of people because of an issue between neighbours, to me that just seems like a little bit of an overzealous response, and that people are going to suffer many people are going to potentially suffer the consequences of one person's discomfort, which should have been resolved like adults realistically without having to make laws and things. And furthermore, the other thing that I wanted to bring up about roosters in terms of fertilizing the chickens, when people think about where do the chicks come from, most people think, we go to your local feed store, and well, where do they come from? They come from hatcheries, massive, huge hatcheries out west, down south, Murray, McMurray, Cackle, Hoover, to name a few. These are raising millions and millions of birds, and then they're shipping them all over the country. That's not sustainable. That's not ethical. But we're going to lose the ability to go, I'm going to pop my incubator on or get myself a cheeky little broody buff Orpington or something, give her some eggs, and boom, I've got chicks. And I didn't have to make the carbon footprint of that animal horrific just so we can have chicks running around our backyard. So yeah, my major point is I don't think it should become an elitist activity. That just, it's oxymoronic. I don't think it's okay to consider roosters as useless, because they're incredibly useful. And I don't think making laws that could affect so many people in response to something that in my mind is a really small, trivial thing that probably shouldn't have even got to this, whatever this is. That's my opinion. But I do respect the fact that you're trying to resolve a problem. I do understand that, and I respect that. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Ryan.
Hey there, Ryan Velcourt. I'm actually been a resident here for almost 14 years now, grew up in the Nashville area. And I will say that one of the biggest reasons we came out into this area is due to the small nature of the town and the hominess and the ability to be like Nashville was back in the early 80s. And coming here with the ability to have the right to have a small flock, or even at this point, we have rescued horses that were going to be killed due to inefficiencies in their showing potential. We have chickens. They're all encaged. They're not free range. They used to be due to the bugs that we were having. Same scenario with the ticks we dealt with. My neighbor had a problem with it. She has no animals. And we've been dealing with my neighbor for 13 years in regards to the fact that she's not happy with the scenario of us having animals without getting her permission. So any animal, whether it be our dogs, whether it be a rooster, chickens, a horse, or any animal that we've acquired, has become a problem in general. Roosters haven't been an issue, but it seems to be more and more that I hear in the community, whether it be over from the grain store or online from all the people in town that have this culture of chickens, that the majority of the issues we deal with are neighbor issues. So I completely understand, like the last lady was saying, that the issue is trying to resolve the problem, but where in which people have come to this town to have that homey feel and to have the ability to do that. For instance, us having chickens for 10 years, they are pets, they are family members. When your dog dies, it means something to a lot of people. When a rooster dies or a chicken dies that you've raised as your own for 6-7 years passes, it does become family. I guess one of the concerns that we're having, being right here in the center of town, we've had a chicken coop up for 15 years. And it doesn't necessarily fall into this new bylaw program. Is that something that moving forward will be grandfathered in, or do we have to literally rebuild my entire barn in another location based on a bylaw that was not put in place when I came here? You know, these things are things that affect a lot of people, like the last lady said. And, you know, you have these disgruntled people that just don't want animals of any type, and they just refuse to be okay with anyone around them having them. And like that last lady said, that's an adult conversation to have, not a city to say who's right and who's wrong. So I do hope this comes out well. I hope any input that we can put into this is going to benefit us, the abilities to continue being the town that we are, and are able to stay the quiet, homey little town between two big cities and not get swallowed up. So thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. And that's why we have public hearings and we value the input from the public. Kim, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm glad that I had to pop on for one reason, and now I get to talk about the chickens. So I did wonder, you know, almost daily we have a large flock of birds that come into my yard. They make a lot of noise. They're big, they're loud. They scratch up the lawn, they peck at my truck. But they're wild turkeys. It's no different than people's chickens. So are you proposing now a bylaw that someone's going to come out and take care of these wonderful wild turkeys in my yard? I'm just flabbergasted that our town is going in this direction. We are a right to farm community. For those of you that don't know me, I grew up on a large farm. Right behind me was the largest chicken farm in our town. Couldn't have been better neighbors. Thrilled to live in a town that supports a farm like that. Even more so, I'm delighted for the people that are raising chickens, that they are growing food locally, that we're becoming reliant on our own community instead of trucking in eggs from far. So I'm very much against this. Mr. King talked about barking dogs. So I also lived on Main Street on a very small lot. It wasn't fowl that bothered me. It was someone's barking dog all day long. We have to just learn to live with our neighbors And whether it's dogs or whether it's the ducks in the pond that came up, whether it's the flock of wild turkeys that come up to my yard, and I'm on 4.5 acres. They don't know the boundaries, but we need to be relying on these animals. I think it would be unfortunate if we are restricting families that are trying to do well for themselves. Eggs are expensive. If they can have pets to bring joy, that brings food to their families, I think we need to support that and not try to abolish their rights around this. And as an aside, and not speaking in my role as president of TEO, but there's many people on this call that are helping to feed their neighbors by their backyard chickens because they're bringing us eggs. It would be very unfortunate to have that stop because of a neighbor dispute. Let's try to fix the problem between the neighbors in a hospitable way, in an amicable way, but let's not take away the rights of our community members that are just trying to support themselves and their families. So thanks for letting me have a little bit of time in the public hearing.
Jean.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm Jean LeQueer. I run an in-home daycare at my house and have for over 25 years. I let my daycare kids get involved. They see that very helpful rooster make the chicks. They get to experience watching the mother chicken with the chicks. We let them free range so that I don't have to put chemicals down. I'm on 10 acres of land on 1,500 feet off the road. I don't have to worry about my chickens going out into the road because they stay right next to my house, but they have a huge run as well. But on the weekends, I like to let them run so that they can eat the bugs so that I don't have to spray chemicals. I'm looking at the rules. I was a little bit confused. So are we speaking? So just, I wanted clarification. 10 chickens, 1 rooster, no matter how big your lot is, if it's residential, and no more letting them free range in your yard. They have to be in a run at all times. I just wanted a little clarification on that. Again, I'd like to see everyone do some backyard farming. It's like great experience for everybody. Just be respectful of your neighbors. That's all. But can I have clarification?
Thank you. Yes, Jean.
Thank you.
Linda and Kim.
So I want to first say that I agree with everything that people have been saying, except for that first email. I don't agree with what she said at all. But like Susie from the other farm, I have 4 acres and I have chickens. And so this doesn't really affect me, but I do feel I need to speak about this. And I really am against this happening in our town for all the reasons people have said, and I won't repeat them. But what I did want to talk about are a few things. One is that when you create a law like this, when it's about a neighbor not liking another neighbor, basically what it does is it creates the ability for, say, the animal control officer or the Conservation Commission or the building inspector, that the neighbors who don't get along with neighbors use our town employees to harass their neighbors, as opposed to working it out, which I think people need to be told, talk to your neighbor directly and work it out with them. And I realize sometimes that doesn't always work, but we have to be careful when we put these things in, because I've seen over the years, and many people on this call know I've been involved in this town for a long time and have supported different bylaws and changes. But I do think we will be hurting our town if we put things like this in, because people do need to make their own food. So that said, I wanted to also say that I think on this bylaw there needs to be clarification. As an example, where it says on the last sentence, "At no time shall the animals be permitted to enter abutting parcels or the public way." With this free range, which people have talked about, I think it's really important for free range to be happening. for many reasons, the health of the eggs, the amount of ticks and bugs that they eat and that kind of thing. And I don't think it's such a problem. From what I can see, when my chickens, they rarely leave our property. But if they do, we make sure that they don't do it again. We just put up a stronger fence or whatever. So it can be dealt with easily, and I don't think we need to do a bylaw for this. The last thing is when it says failure to comply with these requirements may result in an order to remove the animals. Does that mean remove the animals from the neighbor's property or remove them permanently? So that needs to be clarified, because it could be, I would not know how to interpret that. So maybe clarify that, remove it from the neighbor's property. That makes sense. Something like that. And lastly, chickens do cross the street, and none of us really know why. So I just, they fly sometimes. They do a lot of, So there is going to be moments where chickens might go beyond where you want them to go, but it's easy enough to get them back in. And we shouldn't make it a law. I mean, that's just ridiculous, because then the police start getting called. It's just a waste of all of the good, hardworking employees of our town. They shouldn't be having to deal with this kind of stuff. So I think the other thing is if there's something in here about pre-existing, for some people, maybe that's a good thing, pre-existing, non-conforming, so they can, if you do decide to go in this direction, which I hope you don't, but that the pre-existing people who have had chickens maybe aren't required to do this. Okay. And that's it for now.
Hi.
Yes.
So I also wanted to, I think there's a part of this that needs some other clarification, the non-commercial use by residents. Would that make it illegal for us to sell our overflow eggs on the road, in a temporary stand? Or I know a lot of people have roadside stands. So, what does that really mean, right? So I'll leave it at that. But
okay.
I think that needs clarification.
And how do you determine a commercial use? Because I'm a farm and I'm a registered farm, does that qualify for commercial? It's not like I'm just doing something in my backyard.
Yeah, we don't have a store.
You know what I mean? I think that needs to be clarified.
Okay.
But hopefully you don't have to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so we've sort of run over into our other public hearing. And I really appreciate, are there any comments from any of the board members? All right. I don't know. I mean, so I'll sort of make a motion that I think that based upon the feedback that we have received from the public, we need to do some additional work on this bylaw before bringing it to town meeting. And so I would move that we basically do not bring this forward into the town meeting, and it needs additional work. Do I have a second?
Ian Ortiz, I second it.
All right. Let's see. Lori, how do you vote?
I'll vote to rework it.
Carol?
I'll vote to rework it also.
Julie?
Agreed. Rework.
All right, and Lance basically votes to rework it. So, so Beth, the planning board has voted that we're not going to move forward with this proposed amendment to town meeting. And so with that, can I have I'll make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Do we have a second with Julie?
I second it.
I'll second that.
All right. How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
How do you vote, Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes.
Ian?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And Lance McNally, yes. Okay, the public hearing's closed.
Thank
Lance,
you.
can you just have a point of clarification? Does that mean that it won't be on town meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have one other piece of clarification? If you guys are
Yes.
going to rework it, can you have some input from some of the livestock owners in town, or at least Mary and I, because we're the animal officers?
Was that John speaking?
Yeah, that's John speaking.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
We love to have participation in our planning board meetings.
I just think that this is ridiculous, but thank you very much for your understanding, everybody.
Okay, thank you for participating, John. Do I still have Beth somewhere?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
All right. So I know I'm running behind, Beth, but at 7:45, we have a continuation of the public hearing, site plan review for special permit on 32 Main Street for a food truck park. Is the applicant here, or a representative to the applicant?
Hi, my name is Giovanni Federa. I'm the project engineer. I know we weren't able to. Yep, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yep.
And is it my understanding that you're making a request to continue the public hearing until when, Beth?
Do you want to talk to the board, Giovanni?
Yeah. So I know we weren't able to make the previous meeting last month. The whole intent was to pretty much submit a preliminary site plan just to see if the proposed use would be allowed by under special permit. But after talking with the town, it was a use that was allowed per zoning bylaw. So I think we kind of jumped the gun with the whole site plan review because it wasn't a fully engineered site. And so we're still in the works of just engineering the site and designing it to, our standards with stormwater and all that. But yes, we would like to push it to June 13th meeting, and that should give us enough time to really define the site plan, stormwater report, and just have it fully designed so that we're prepared for the next meeting, and so that the town also has a good 35-day review period as well.
Okay, great. So I motion that the, did you say June the 11th?
June 13th.
June 13th, I'm sorry. So I motion that the public hearing for 32 Main Street, it is 32 Main Street is extended until June the 13th. Any particular time, Beth?
6:45 is fine.
Okay, so at 6:45 p.m. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Julie seconded. So Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ian, how do you vote?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
Julie, how do you vote?
Julie Byers, yes.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes. Point of clarification.
Yes.
Just to keep everything the way it should be, Lance can't make motions as chair. So, Beth, you can put it that I made the motion.
Sure.
And Julie seconded. And another point of clarification, we don't have to open the meeting to move it to another date and then close it. Again, point of clarification.
Okay. So there's a motion to continue the hearing until June the 13th at 6:45. And you made that motion, Lori?
Yes, I did.
And who seconded it?
And I seconded that, Julie Byers.
Okay. All right. Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ian?
Ian Ortiz, yes.
Julie?
Julie Byers, yes.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes.
And Lance McNally, yes. And so I believe the chair made a motion to not move forward with the foul amendment. So why don't we go back and fix that, Lori?
All right. I don't want to take credit for this one, but okay. I will, Beth, you have my permission to use my name to make the motion for that.
Okay. And are you all right with that, Carol?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And I assume that you're all right with that, Lori?
I am.
All right. And Lance votes yes as well. All right. I think that we've had a lot to go through tonight. I'm exhausted. And so I think maybe, Beth, you and I will work on maybe seeing if we can get a work session in or two to continue to work on the master plan, okay?
Sure.
All right. With that, our next meeting is scheduled for May the 9th. The town election is the 25th, and the annual town meeting is May the 3rd. And with that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Do I have a second? Okay. How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin, yes.
And Lance votes yes. Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Good night.
Night.